Good morning from my side to everybody in attendance. Please, be reminded that as some indicated that this is for M&D students specifically. You are currently being accommodated in a temporary Turnitin class whilst Unisa is changing the Turnitin accounts within the institution. Once you change over from the interim class into the new platform, you will receive individualized emails to indicate the change to you. Until that point, you will remain within the current class. Thank you for accommodating that. Now, before we start with Turnitin, we do need to approach it from the Unisa stance for plagiarism, and that is that Unisa does not tolerate plagiarism. The policy is available online to all students to view. Please also read this in conjunction with the academic integrity policy and be mindful of M&D procedures as well as the rules of conduct as a Unisa registered student. I know some of you might have already read these policies when you started with your proposal, or at honours level, you might have already read them. Please do read them again. Make sure that you know what the content is with the current policies that are available, because they are being updated regularly to accommodate the growth within the institution. And the focus of these policies are to build academic integrity. And in that sense, we use Turnitin as well. So what is plagiarism? From the Turnitin side, we rely on the Merriam-Webster's online dictionary of what it means to plagiarize. We have found this definition within our space to accommodate all of the different aspects of things that are seen as plagiarism, whether plagiarism happened inadvertently or if it was conducted with intent. In essence, we can say it is a false representation of the origin of the work. So in other words, you can say that you do need to be honest and truthful in what you bring forward within the content of your document. Any attempt at trying to deceive the reader of that submission would be seen as an act of fraud, and that would constitute plagiarism or academic misconduct. Now, what is Turnitin? Turnitin is a teaching tool. It is used by Unisa to prevent plagiarism by checking originality. And this is one of the best friends that you can have for your postgraduate studies. And you have to walk the road with your supervisor with Turnitin from proposal. Okay, so when you start out with Turnitin, so that you can learn from this and you can build the integrity within the content of your submission. The intent of Turnitin is not to try and catch you at plagiarism. It is not applied as a punitive measure, okay, but rather as a support. Okay. Before I continue, I need to offer you a warning, and that is to say that you do need to submit your work yourself with your My Life email address in the formal Unisa submission space. Okay, so in the specific space where you have been allocated to upload your work, where originality checking will be taking place, that is where you submit your work, logging in with a My Life email address and your My Life password. This is really very important, because this is how we can protect you and the authorship of your work and prevent any undue conflict. Please do not give your work to another person, a family member or a friend or a cousin or a colleague even, or at a different institution. Also, be very careful of individuals out there that advertise, but they will generate a good Turnitin report for you, or they will help you. Please do be careful. These people are often paper mills in disguise. They steal your work and they sell it off to other individuals. And providing your work to somebody else outside of the formal space will compromise the originality check at the end of the day, and it would be to your own detriment. So please be very mindful. This is your work. You you've put in many hours and effort into this. It's your authorship, so it's also your responsibility. Take good care of this. It's not the task of your supervisor or the librarian or the teaching assistant to upload on your behalf. You upload your own work, and therein lies the protection of your authorship. Okay, so for Turnitin Activation, as a registered master's or doctorate student at Unisa, you are automatically enrolled for Unisa Turnitin. Okay, so note that not every single submission might require an originality report or any module. If you are doing, for instance, a coursework master's, might require Turnitin, but where it is needed, the space will be provided and the option would be there. Always ensure that your My Life email account is active. Okay, this is the formal communication method of the institution. All formal communication and information will be sent to that, including anything regarding Turnitin, like user details or updates or confirmations or digital receipts, etc. That would go to your My Life email. You do not need any program installation, none whatsoever. All that is required is access to the internet. Okay, so whether you are within the interim class or once you are going to be moved to the new platform, both instances will rest within within the internet. So you do need access to the internet to utilize this. If I can maybe add a tip here to give you is to say that the best browsers to use when you engage with your submissions on the internet is Chrome, or you can use Firefox, or you can use Edge. Those are the three internet browsers that work best when you have to submit your work online. Okay, so for your student file uploads, okay, there is a Unisa Turnitin student guide for you as M&D students, as well as a frequently asked questions list specifically for M&D students. Another tip here is just be mindful when you do receive or open an FAQ list. Please double check that it is for M&D students, because there are specific questions that address the space where you submit your work. And then, of course, take note, your submissions are permanently stored in Turnitin. Okay, this is part of the protection that we provide within the Unisa account so that somebody else cannot plagiarize from your work in future. Okay. When you are going to upload your work, please be mindful that Unisa relies on all-inclusive, in other words, comprehensive originality reports. Every submission that you make will need to contain a title page. Okay, so the title page also confirms your authorship within the content of the document. Perhaps if there is an undue conflict in future for whatever reason within the findings of the originality report, the title page helps to verify the authorship of the content in that specific document. A title page does not need to be the formal, this is submitted in accordance with the degree expectations when you reach the end of the study. It can only be a block at the beginning of your submission where it states your name, your student number, what you're uploading, and the date. For instance, this is chapter 1 final, and the date that that you are submitting that would suffice as a title or a heading within the body of your submission. Then, in addition to that, it needs to include a bibliography or a reference list, or for instance, if you are in a space where footnotes are utilized, these all need to be included within the document. They confirm the research content within the document that you presented. So they help to support the originality of the content that you provided during your with your submission. And please do remember that submissions are stored permanently. Okay, So make sure that you do have an all-inclusive document, a comprehensive one that you upload. You can upload it containing images, etc. So just make sure that you do have the full document that is being uploaded. File sizes, these are usually not a problem. You can also upload a document of a paper length of 400 pages. We do accommodate up to 800 pages, but my advice to you would be when you reach the end of the study and you have to upload the full dissertation or thesis, and it does exceed 400 pages, drop us an email at the Turnitin desk so that we can assist you. The reason for that is that you can never split a document and try to generate two different reports and then add them together. It needs to be one single submission so that we have one single report that can be utilized by the supervisor and the examiners. So just take note of that. Then the file type. The preferred upload choice would be for Microsoft Word. That is easiest to navigate and delivers the quickest response as well. You could also use a PDF document if it was let's say a text document that you saved as a PDF document. That can be done, but not a scanned document. Turnitin will not proceed with the submission if it is a scanned document. Your file inclusions, just like you would submit that chapter or proposal or full dissertation to your supervisor, that is how you would upload for the originality check. So it has to contain the title page as well as the bibliography, and then any other items that are expected for the specific submission, like a declaration or the index, images, graphs, and tables, they do remain within the content of your document. Also make sure, because the submissions are stored permanently, that you upload the correct version of your work to the correct option. In other words, do not upload your proposal under chapter 1 or upload chapter 2 under the proposal option. If it says proposal, then you upload the proposal. If it says chapter 3, then you upload chapter 3. Okay, so please make sure of that. All right, so this is just in summary what I have explained to you, that you do need to make your log into the appropriate platform. You have to upload to the correct option. You can use a file retrieval from the computer that you are working on, for instance, the hard drive or a memory stick that's plugged in. If not, you could also utilize Dropbox or Google Drive to retrieve your documents to upload them. On screen, Turnitin will provide you the opportunity to double check the version and the option selected for you when you submit. So it will display your choices for you once you've submitted the document and ask you to confirm. The moment that you confirm your selection, Turnitin will accept your document. It will give you a notice on screen directly to say that your document has been received and will be processed. At the same time, it is going to email you a digital receipt after the successful upload. That receipt goes to the My Live email address. It's a very short notice. It's 3 lines. It simply confirms, it's a formal confirmation that Turnitin did receive your document for processing. However, note that when your report is completed, okay, Turnitin is not going to email the report to you. You will need to log in again on the following day to view the originality report online. Okay, so this is an example of your file upload order and what you can expect to see when you access your submission space online. So the example that I've used here is for the proposal, and there you can see it says research proposal followed by revision 1 and a final upload option. Now, how this works is that, let's say you have now drafted your proposal and your proposal is ready for discussion with your supervisor. Then you go to research proposal, you upload the document, you submit it. You can upload it. The process takes less than 2 minutes. You can close, you log out, and then you go back on the following day to view the originality report. You can then discuss the findings of the originality report with your supervisor. So your supervisor has an opportunity then to identify specific areas that you need to pay attention to. Maybe you've used too many quotes, or you did not paraphrase enough, or perhaps you overutilized one specific source, etc. They will guide you on where you need to pay attention, what areas you have to expand or improve on, and would make suggestions and how to move forward. You then have the opportunity to rework that draft proposal. So you work on your original document, taking the advice from your supervisor into consideration, apply that. And then once you are ready, if you are satisfied that you have done what the supervisor has advised you to do, then you can come back and you can upload to the first revision option, and a new originality report will be generated for you. Now, please do not stress. If you've already done a draft and you then upload a revised version of your proposal, Turnitin will not show a conflict against your previous submission. In other words, it's not going to look as if you plagiarized yourself. So Turnitin will recognize your authorship and it will generate a fresh report for the revised document. And of course, you then have another opportunity. Should there be minor details that still require attention, or that your lecturer suggests that you maybe improve or add some information to your proposal, then that can be done before you upload a final version of your work. And then the final version is the one that would be evaluated, in this case, for specifically for the proposal, before you continue with your chapters. So this is just an idea of how the screen is going to look and what to expect from the process that you would be following. Okay. Now, when you upload your document, Turnitin takes the document into a database, and the database has different repositories. We have basically 4 different repositories. The first one, it's just loosely called periodicals, but it refers to all sorts of publications that are hosted within the database. Then there is the internet repository. This contains both current and archived internet sites. There is a Unisa paper repository, and then of course the largest one, the student paper repository. Now the student paper repository contains submissions that have been done worldwide, so both nationally as well as internationally. All universities in South Africa, all the major universities, use Turnitin, as well as the majority of universities within Africa, as we find them on the other continents as well. So you can understand, but your document gets compared against millions of other submissions and sites, etc., within that database. So it does take a little bit of time to compile a comprehensive report. So we allow for 24 hours for that report to be generated. So it is best that if you upload today, log out and go back tomorrow to view that. Also note from this slide that Turnitin generates an originality report. It is never called a plagiarism report, because this is not what Turnitin does. It does not compile a report of plagiarism. It checks for originality of the content, and that's the report that is being generated. And you are at Unisa, we provide you with the advantage, because it is a teaching tool, that you are able to view your report. So both you and the supervisor can view the report. It is also possible that you can view this simultaneously which will make it very convenient. Let's say if you are on a Microsoft Teams call with your supervisor, that you can share screens and you can discuss the findings within the Originality report as well in that sense. So let me just move on to the next slide. Okay, so what will be highlighted within the Originality report? Okay, so now remember we said it is a check for originality, so it will find matches of non-original content. So if a match is found, that would be highlighted as non-original content. Obviously, if the document contains copied text from other sources, that would be highlighted. But things like discipline-related terminology used in the content could also be highlighted. Names and titles would be highlighted. You might find that some of the direct quotes can be highlighted, or even items in the bibliography or your citations in the document would be highlighted. So everything which is not original, for which Turnitin finds a match, would be highlighted. Therefore, it is of the utmost importance that a proper analysis is done by your lecturer or supervisor to identify plagiarism if it is present in the document. So it doesn't mean if the document contains non-original content that it is necessarily plagiarized content. Let me explain that to you with an example. So for instance, let's say I am attending a conference and the presenter makes a statement which I find that it speaks directly to my own research. So I want to use that statement. Can I do that? Yes, I may do so. So I can take that statement, I can write it into my work, I can quote it, I can give credit to the presenter of the conference who made that specific statement, and now I submit my work and it goes to Turnitin. What will happen? Turnitin is going to highlight that specific statement because it is not original. And that is correct. It is not original because it's not my own statement. Okay, the statement was made by someone else that I used within my document. But did I plagiarize? No. Remember, I quoted and I gave the necessary credit to the presenter. So in that specific instance, although the statement that forms part of my submission is not original, I did not plagiarize. However, when would it be plagiarism? Let's say I took the statement made by the presenter and I included it into my document, and I am pretending that I am making that statement. So I'm not putting it in quotes. Okay, I am not giving any credit to the original person who made that specific statement. What will now happen when my work goes through Turnitin? The same. Turnitin will highlight that sentence where the statement is written as being non-original content. Okay. But did I plagiarize? Yes, I did. In that specific instance, I did plagiarize because I did not acknowledge the source and I just simply used the work from somebody else. In other words, I gave a false representation of the origin. So I did pretend that I made the statement, okay, which was not true to me. And that is the difference between something which is not original, but not necessarily plagiarized, as opposed to something which is plagiarized. And you need to be clear on this because this will help you to understand the findings within the Originality report so that you can work together with your supervisor on how to build your skills. You can also attend the other workshops that is presented by the College of Graduate Studies on academic writing, etc., so that you can deliver original content and make your voice heard in your own research. Also note that on that originality report, you will receive a percentage. That percentage reflects the non-original content found in the document, and it is called a similarity index. Again, this is not called a plagiarism percentage because that's not what it is. It is a similarity index, and it tells the viewer of the report how much from the content of that specific submission is not original. Okay, so therefore, again, be reminded that a proper interpretation and analysis of the findings is to be done by your supervisor, who is the subject specialist. Please don't go and try on your own and plunder through the report and get distraught due to the findings. Discuss this with your supervisor, because the supervisor is a subject specialist, and the supervisor can advise you on where you need to pay attention. Because when you start out, especially in the beginning with your research topic, you can inadvertently plagiarize, because you might not realize that the manner in which you are using this information from your sources is seen as plagiarism. So you need to learn how to properly use this and give the necessary credit, what referencing styles, etc. That you do need to use. So do consult with your supervisor, because it is not necessary to change every single thing in your document which is highlighted. The color coding within your specific document, the percentage indication, that just shows non-original content, and there are certain conditions where certain things may be acceptable. So here I have an example for you of an originality report. On the left, you can see the text of the document. So that was the document that was submitted. And on the right-hand side, we have a column with a breakdown of the matches. It says match overview. At the top, we have the similarity index. And then we have different sources listed within that specific column. They are numbered from 1 to however many there are. They can go into the hundreds of matches. And then to the right of each specific match, you will see an individual percentage. Now, our focus is on the individual matches. Okay. On the left, you will see that we have portions of text highlighted in red. There are 2 lines that are highlighted in red, and in the beginning, there's a small little block that contains a number 1. On the right-hand side, we see number 1, and it is also in red. So this means that the matches in the document highlighted in red and marked with a little number 1, they are found against source number 1 in the column on the right-hand side. And this, for ease of reference, is then also in red. For this specific example, my number 2 was highlighted in pink. So on the left, I can see there is a sentence highlighted in pink. It's marked with a little number 2. So it matches with source number 2 in my match overview on the right-hand side. Now, the percentages that you see next to the sources, the individual percentages, okay, that tells you how much from the content of the submission matches that specific source. So although you can only see the first paragraph of my document here, if you were able to scroll throughout the whole document, you would see that there are several other instances throughout the content with red highlighted text marked with number 1. So all those little instances throughout the document, if put together, they amount to 17%. So 17 as a match for source number 1. The same for number 2. If I scroll through the whole document, I will find that there are several different instances where I can see pink highlighted text marked with a little number 2, and all of those matches amount to 14% of my second source. All right, so that is how we get to the individual matches. Now, for the individual match, we provide you with a guideline to assist you. Now, the guideline for an individual match is 5%. Now, of course, I do realize that you would be very surprised at this because it is a wide guideline. Yes, it is a wide guideline, but it allows room to accommodate, let's say, incidental matches of subject terminology, names and titles that are used, or citations within your document, or definitions in your document. It would even accommodate for small quotes, direct quotes within your work. So 5% is the guide for an individual match. So that means my number one, which is 17% in this example, is way above the guideline. So I can immediately see that I have relied too much on that specific source. So I need to revisit that specific source that I have used, and I have to attend to how it was used within my document, because it is way above the guideline. My number two is 14%. Again, this is way above the guideline of 5%. Even my number three that you can see here displayed, which says 12%, it's still way above the 5% guideline. So if you adhere to that specific guideline, your overall index would also decrease by default. But we are not focused on the similarity index. Okay. The similarity index only tells us how much is not original. And there is no cutoff percentage for the similarity index. The reason being is because Unisa does not tolerate plagiarism. So when your document is interpreted, or the originality report, the question that is asked is plagiarism present in the document or not? That's the question. In other words, when your document is, or the report is being analyzed based on your document, and let's say you have a similarity index of 10%. Now that might sound low, but through analysis, it is noted that the document contains portions of blatantly plagiarized text, then that would be unacceptable, regardless of what your similarity index is. But you could have another submission, perhaps, where your similarity index is 20%. And upon analysis of the originality report, it is found that there is no blatant plagiarism within that specific document, and then that percentage could be acceptable. Note that your supervisors are trained to understand on how the originality report is compiled, what to look for, and what issues they can address within the scope of the expectations that they have and the purpose that they have for the submissions that you make. In other words, the expectation is not the same for a master's student as it would be for a doctorate student, or the purpose of a specific submission might differ. The specific submission might be a literature review, or it might be a proposal, or it could be your concluding chapter, for instance. All of those things are taken into consideration by your supervisor. And your supervisor is looking for your voice in that document. So focus on delivering original content. Students, your supervisors, they can also go to the internet, and they can also go to the library to see what is already out there. But they are looking for your voice within the work that is being done. So do be mindful of that, and adhere to guidelines that are provided in your different guides or tutorial letters or other resources that are provided by your department or college, or directly from your supervisor. Your personal librarian can also give you advice in this regard on where you can get resources to assist you with building integrity into your work and bringing your own voice forward so that you have an original submission. So to summarize, Unisa does not tolerate plagiarism. Okay. So that means we do not have an acceptable percentage for the similarity index, because if plagiarism is found, then it would be unacceptable. You need to focus on the content of your work. The focus here is not to reduce the percentage, because there are conditions under which a certain percentage could be permissible. So paraphrase, bring your own words forward, use your quotes sparingly. Okay, do not overutilize quotations. Okay, and if you're in doubt, cite your sources. And remember, your guideline for individual matches is 5%. So that is your guideline. If you adhere to this guideline, then as I said, by default, your overall index would also decrease. And that will also help to protect you from overutilization of a specific source. Because if you overutilize one specific source, even if it is quoted, okay, that can infringe on copyright. Okay, so be very careful in that regard. Okay. Then for content support, as mentioned, your personal librarian is very valuable in this specific space, because they can direct you on where you can get information on research ethics, on research integrity, the referencing styles, on how to learn paraphrasing or improve your academic writing, etc. You can access the LibGuides, or you can write to the personal librarian for guidance, or that they can provide you with the links. Additionally, you can visit the plagiarism.org website. Okay, this site contains a number of easy-to-read articles on how to prevent plagiarism when you are writing. Please note that this is an international site, so it addresses the broader scope of plagiarism, but at Unisa or in your specific department, there might be more detailed information or expectations that you need to adhere to, on referencing specifically. So also be mindful of those guidelines that are provided to you. Okay. Then for technical support, your email, your MyLife email account is most important. Please visit this regularly. Okay. If you go to your MyLife email, check also the junk mail folder or the spam folder, because on occasion, some of the communication might end up within those specific folders. They are not necessarily always within the inbox. If you have any difficulties with your MyLife email, you can write to mylifehelp@unisa.ac.za, okay, so that they can assist you with your email, because it's not only for the Turnitin that you would need this. You need this for all other formal communication with the institution. You need this to communicate with your supervisor, and for any other accounts or financial aspects that need to be addressed will be communicated through this email address. For Turnitin itself, first consult the frequently asked questions list. The frequently asked questions list for USM&D students contain 28 questions, and they cover the vast majority of the questions that you may have at this point, and they apply to the interim class where you are currently hosted. So check out the list and see if the question that you have is on that list, and then you have an immediate answer. Alternatively, you can consult the student guide or contact your supervisor, that they can also provide you with a copy of that. And then if there is any other concern, you can write to turnitin@unisa.ac.za. Okay, so please be careful that you write to Turnitin as one word and @unisa.ac.za. If you accidentally type in .co.za, we will not receive the email. Okay, or if you leave out the Unisa, I've seen that before, where I think maybe the email was written in haste, and then we do not, the email does not arrive at our desk. And of course, when you do write an email, please do it as comprehensively as you possibly can. For instance, make sure that you have within your subject line, that you have your student number there, that you have the specific module code or your qualification code within the subject line. If in the body of the content, please indicate that you are a master's or a doctorate student, if possible, in which college you are, and sign it with your full name. We deal with thousands of queries, and the more information we get with the first query, the quicker we can resolve that specific query and pay attention to your request. We have a very, very small team that needs to support the whole of the institution. So it may take some time, and having all of the information ready just makes it easier and faster, so that we do not have to write emails back and forth to you to collect all of the necessary information required for that specific query. Any questions that you have regarding the academic content of your work, in other words, how to use a quote or how to paraphrase, etc., that needs to be referred to your supervisor. Your supervisor is the best person to guide you in that specific regard. At the Turnitin desk, we are not at liberty to assist you with academic expectations for that specific submission. We can only assist you with things like the login or the opening of your originality report, or if the report was not generated for whatever reason that might be. So we can assist you in that regard. And this has brought me to the end of the presentation this morning. I thank you for your attendance, and I believe we have a few minutes that we can address the questions. Otherwise, Samu, we can also then end the sessions, and those who have posted questions, we can address them.